Okay, we're recording now. Good morning, guys.
Good
Addy's in
morning,
the
Paul.
house.
Morning, Paul.
Of course, we have Addy Ads here, guest speaker. Isn't that great?
Yeah,
Thanks for
it's awesome.
on your Sunday morning chat, guys. Appreciate it.
So, how's things going? I mean, since the last we talked, George.
We've been making a lot of trips, Addy and I, up to DC. It's turned into sort of this progressive lockdown with these 8-foot high fences. I don't know why they didn't use those on the 6th. And but anyway, it's progressively going out toward Union Station in sort of like a concentric circle. And it's now to military checkpoints in DC. So it's you
Yep.
posted a thing last night about checkpoints, right?
Yeah, it was. I think it was from Friday morning. Video from a construction worker who was just documenting the widening diameter of the kind of sphere of control, a green zone, if you want to call it as well. And we're actually going to try to head to DC later today to do some more groundwork and just get some more eyes on, because a lot of people have been really curious to see what's going on there. There's this other guy, Lee Wheelbarger, who has been doing these streams covering everything that's been going on in DC. So there's a lot of demand for that, for people to see, what's going on in Washington, DC. So we've been focused on that, as well as rebuilding my own channel and McDuff's channel as well. I just did a long form interview with John O'Loughlin yesterday on my channel, and I believe on the Club Osprey channel as well. I am rebuilding my YouTube. I got a whopping 300 subscribers now, but my Rumble has seen a growth as well. So I'm up to 1.7 thousand on Rumble. I got over 2,000 on brand new tube. So just trying to make my online presence more robust, as well as working on George's books, just finishing up somewhere under the lockdown, and then Blackberries Matter as well. So
it's important for the viewers that are watching this to make sure that they subscribe to Addy's new channel. So, Addy, what's the name of the new channel on YouTube?
It should be just Addy Ads. Otherwise, Attican Lonely Ronin, I think it'll pop up too. People have been having trouble getting it to pop up under Addy Ads, but I can send you the link, Paul, if you want to put it in the description box, and I'll do a comment too on the video later as well. But I do appreciate that, Paul. I need the help.
I think the easiest way to do it is go to his Twitter, which is one Addy Ads, ONEADDYADDS, and then he has his link tree on there with all of his different places he's replicated his content. So I think that's maybe that's probably the starting place.
Place. I got a link tree which just organizes all your links, which people are actually using now to organize intelligence. I've noticed, like, just sending out a particular topic and then all the links associated with that topic or person. So that's kind of interesting how people have started to use that as a kind of a different means for the tool. But yeah, all my socials are on there, including the lesser known ones, like, what is it, Minds, Inked Social, MeWe, and then all the big ones too. So yeah, just trying to take advantage of the upload speed here too as well. So
George, do you think that what's happening in DC is going to end up like what New York did right after 9/11, where they had a whole bunch of security stations and barricades, and it never went away? Do you think that this is a permanent feature of the landscape of DC?
Yeah, I do. I think you can't go all the way over to Union Station because that's a public transportation venue, but the Capitol Police have a 1 mile square that they're responsible for, perimeter. And I think from now on, you're going to have an appointment to get in. You're going to have a virus vaccine shot to get in. You have to be credentialed press to get in. They really want to keep the citizen journalists away from the Capitol. And this whole false flag thing, I mean, now we find out it was just filled with Antifa guys. This guy, John Earl Sullivan, has been arrested in Utah as an Antifa guy. He's the one who took the film of Ashley Babbitt being shot at the speaker's lobby there.
He's actually the guy whose videos have been going around with the watermark Jaden X. That's the moniker that he's been using, because a lot of his videos have actually been blown up on social media. And he was the same guy. His name's John Sullivan. And he's a former, I think, like skater, like speed skater.
Yeah. All the kids. I think this colonel, this Air Force colonel, lives near Colorado Springs, where the Olympic team trains. All 4 of them were speed skaters. And then when they can't skate anymore, they say, well, now you're ready for intelligence activities. We're going to just slot you in here to this false flag and make it look like the peaceful protesters, which this house is full of and have all testified. They're going to make it look like these were angry Trump protesters trying to go for Nancy Pelosi there through the speaker's lobby window, which is complete falsehood. Everyone outside was very festive and jovial. And his brother also, interestingly enough, is a Proud Boy. So this family doesn't discriminate against false flags. I mean, you got everything in this family. And again, we said it was an intelligence operation from day one. We said it was to get Nancy Pelosi's servers for the dark weapons. I think we're going to be right. We don't know yet, but I think we're going to be right.
My observation with the lockdowns in DC is that they'll be permanent, and it's very similar to what happened right after 9/11 in New York. And it's just going to get worse and worse. There's going to be more surveillance. There's going to be more police projection. So it's a sad time. The last time I was in DC was, I think it was 2014. So I don't think I'll ever see DC like it used to be, unfortunately.
Yeah, we talked about this with Strzok and NATO, and this is the CIA way. This happened in Kosovo. A lot of these police are going to be coming from Kosovo. DynCorp. It just becomes a den of iniquity for rat lions once you have these UN-based authorities coming in these green zones. And you don't have to take the whole city, like you said. If you just do the financial district downtown and do the financial district midtown, 16 square blocks, that's all you really need. But I expect 2 green zones in New York. I expect a green zone in Atlanta, Chicago, Detroit, Cleveland, potentially Miami, Los Angeles, Portland, Seattle. And we've already seen these footprints from the autonomous zone thing. They were already priming us for this idea that, hey, we need to have these autonomous zones. And you're going to find a lot of commercial real estate being redeveloped. You're going to have these being called enterprise zones. You're going to be buying these open fields that used to be parks for $1. Amazon's going to buy the one in Seattle where the Righteousness Park was, or whatever the hell they called that. And this is a big land. It's not only green zones, but just like the Iraq Redevelopment Fund, where you had everybody buying hotels. Just 1 second. Sorry about that. We were incoming from NSA. Just like people were getting hotels and so forth and buying $7-8 million hotels for $1 in Iraq, the same thing's going to happen here. The Iraq Baghdad Green Zone is the blueprint for what's going to happen to American cities.
I was mentioning that to Ann, actually, George, just the kind of strategy of driving down real estate prices and really demand for wanting to live in a certain location. Probably the perfect example being New York City from the last 12 months or so, or really 10 or 11 months here over the course of 2020 and now into 2021, which then allows all these conglomerates to gobble up the real estate at pennies on the dollar, as the expression goes. So I was mentioning that to Ann Vandersteel when we spoke in DC earlier this week, and I agree with George. I think that's a similar play. One of the functions or the factors that played into this strategy, this operation, was the land grabbing.
Right.
Yeah, and I would just say this, that Nancy Pelosi's weapons partner, Nancy Pelosi's dark weapons partner, this guy named Kolomoisky, did exactly this already in Cleveland. He already did this in several cities that are called strong cities in the United States.
Isn't Kolomoisky, George, isn't he, so we have the top 2 real estate owners in the United States are number 1, the federal government, and number 2 is Igor Kolomoisky.
I know that's true in Ohio.
In Ohio,
I,
okay.
I
in
don't
Ohio.
know that, and Cleveland for sure.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was just the state or
Bill Gates is now the #1 farmland owner.
Okay, I did see that. Yeah,
and that is, of course, not for what's above the ground; it's for what's below the ground. That's the crooked drilling that Warren Buffett is so good at. Again, we have people saying Seth Rich sold those limited partnerships with Paul Erickson. We'll see if that's going to be true over time. But I really want to go back to this story of this covert server, because Paul, you got these orange hats going in. Addy and I both stood there as the orange hats went right by us. They weren't Trump people. They had all the facial hardware that you could possibly imagine, all the prison tats you possibly could imagine. The orange hats from the Trump speech hadn't had time yet to get down to that gate, to the mall gate. And here they came. And where did they go? They went immediately in to retrieve servers, right? Now, are those the Kolomoisky dark weapons server for what they were doing in China, testing these bioweapons to make way for the Belt and Road? I say yes. I was told that 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago. We'll see if that's true or not. Hold on. Sorry, calls coming in here. NSA wants to get a hold of me. Hey, guys at Fort Meade, just give us a little bit of time here and let us finish the show.
So, Addy,
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear. Paul? I can hear you.
Hey, Paul, how you doing? Yes,
okay,
I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you and see you now.
Can you stitch those two things together, you think?
Yeah, I'll edit that. I'll edit it out. So okay. We're still recording. So the question I had, Addy, in the news lately has been the hint, a strong hint, of the projection of the Democratic Party on patriots and how they're going to go after them. They're going to, prosecute them. They're going to curtail movement and have them, shadow banned or completely removed from social media, curtailment of their civil liberties. So it just seems to me in the news, almost on a daily basis, an increase in statism, this almost like a fascism that's starting to approach. And there was a speech by Schwarzenegger talking about Kristallnacht, but he totally misinterpreted what was going on in DC. He flipped. Yeah. It was like he wasn't sincere about the history of Kristallnacht. In reality, there was a night of the long knives against patriots, having them removed from platforms, and Parler being, removed from Apple and all this. So what's your take on statism and this kind of like movement towards fascism?
Yeah, I saw that. That's a great question, Paul. I saw that because a family member sent it to me, and I had already seen it because they know that I am a huge fan of Arnold, especially when I was younger. I loved reading Arnold and watching Pumping Iron and stuff, and especially given his own Nazi connections with the fact that his father basically worked for them as a local police chief. It's pretty unfortunate that he's skewing because I understood it. He's skewing the events on the 6th to make it look like a broken glass type of situation. But what you're talking about with the kind of the online purge that has been going on over the past week or so, and an increase in really, like you said, fascism and statism at the media level, and particularly on the internet. It's interesting because both sides think it's the other side that is being fascist, right? Which is what the elites want, and it just seems that it's like we're observing ourselves, like just slow walking. Like Eric Weinstein said, we're LARPing our way into Armageddon. And I was like, wow, that's kind of a very comical way to put it. But it's almost like true to an extent, where it's like we all know where this is trending. Or maybe we don't all know, but it seems to me that we're trending south, regardless of where you want to point that specifically or locally, globally. It's a trend towards more and more civil unrest and civil conflict. So, what's the solution at our level? I think that's the most practical question. And I think it's really just to keep fighting it and find out this information that the people want to know and give it to them. So it's very discouraging at times, I would say, certainly going up against the technocracy really is what we're going against, and the intelligence agencies. Because when people talk about MSM, what they're really talking about is the CIA and the intelligence networks who control the media.
So George, what do you think about the statism that's starting to creep up?
Well, I always believe in naming names. I'm working on republishing a book that was banned, because banned books, I mean, how do you get more fascist than that? And this Kolomoisky guy, we said 3 years ago that it was going to be this dark weapons program to Ukraine.
George did.
Not Addy. I'm sorry. But
I don't want to take credit for your work.
No. But I just think that, you know, this whole thing going in and sending these 50 guys in through the tunnel was the real operation to go get those servers that have been running these dark weapons out of the U.S. Congress. That's what the book's about. And hey, I'll sell you my bioweapons from Fort Detrick. I'll test them at Fort Belvoir. I'll have a courier take them to an intermediary in Holland at the Erasmus lab. I'll test them by spraying people in the Yangtze Valley. You know, for the Three Gorges Dam, we'll spray the peasants for 7 or 8 years. We'll farm them and launder the results of the tests as tests in Pakistan, which I believe they were actually tests that occurred, much larger tests, animal testing and testing on farmers that occurred in China. But we'll launder the results there, and we'll have terabytes going to Pakistan as the intermediary. We'll have a drug lab in Pakistan. So I see this thing as one thing, a dark weapons program, and this is where you're doing your shutdown. And then, of course, they're going to accuse you of everything when you're exposing the dark weapons program. It's going to be Kolomoisky. We said it was Kolomoisky. That's what the book was about in March, or, well, May anyway. And we're rewriting it. Addy's helped me rewrite it. We have a lot more evidence now. I made some mistakes. I just want to go on record here. I had no idea of the Harvard study that had put the outbreak, it tracked people movements in Wuhan in late summer, August 2019. It also tracked online searches for COVID type symptoms. I had no idea that the breakout actually was in late summer. I never would have said patient 0 for that Dutch person, that Dutch gal on the US team, if I had known that. Maybe she still is American patient 0, but patient 0 in any case would be a victim. But hindsight's not 2020. If you have whistleblowers that are working in these different community hospitals, Fort Belvoir Community Hospital, and up at Bethesda Naval Hospital, and they're saying that there's virus vaccine testing for bioweapons, and they are using couriers to send them to Kolomoisky in Ukraine. Ukraine is at first, but then Kolomoisky by inference. You have to take that seriously. You have to say, well, you better show me some blackberries in the hands of Joe Biden's son going up and down in Kazakhstan to buy uranium and going all over the place in China. If you're, you know, with some investments in oil and gas, if you're serious, well, that's what we got. So, you know, I admit I don't have all the pieces. I admit I probably didn't have all the pieces with the breakout in Wuhan in 2019, but the Chinese foreign minister probably wasn't lying that the Americans brought the Wuhan virus to Wuhan. They just brought it in 2011 as a part of a bioweapons program, and that's the part I didn't know at the time. So we're hot on the heels of this thing. I know it sounds like a big conspiracy theory, but if you look at people, just give the book a read. It's $2. See the evidence I've accumulated and see how it makes sense that you would have the orange hats go get the server.
I had to include the screenshot from 60 Minutes piece on George as well. Yeah. You know, anytime you can get that 60 Minutes logo, it's, you know, a CBS show, the famous show. You know, we got George Webb on there. I got to include that in the book.
Paul, why is Kolomoisky's goons, Pravi Sector and Azov Brigade and Dnepr Brigade, why are they in Hong Kong spraying protesters in Hong Kong? If these aren't attenuated bioweapons for crowd control, if that isn't the future of what they have planned for us in America, why is he spraying people in Hong Kong?
I believe it was National Review that did one of the articles on the Ukrainian soldiers spraying in Hong Kong at the protesters there, which I think we've actually talked about this before, Paul. Hong Kong being kind of a Maginot Line of sorts in the East, you know, for kind of the East-West philosophies going at each other in a way.
You know what I find that's really odd with the whole Johns Hopkins database. You know, they've been publishing cases and deaths and, you know, and all this with some granularity, but not that much. Why isn't there a database that is easy to search for everybody to look at, well, what's the vaccine injury counts with any of the vaccines, the Moderna one or the Pfizer? Because just in the news lately, Pfizer had, I think it was 13 in Norway that passed away that were elderly.
23.
Or was it 23? Yeah, 23. That's right.
23.
So
Yeah.
23 in Norway, and then there were 55 with a combination of the BioNTech or the Moderna in the United States. But it's not so much the deaths that I'm concerned about, because I don't think that there's going to be it's relative to the number of people that will be vaccinated, the deaths will be very low. I mean, less than a half of a percent. What's more concerning is just the vaccine injury. And I'm not seeing data on that.
Well, you hit on another thing, Paul. There's this Johns Hopkins Foreign Service School in Nanjing, and I saw, again, people. I'm releasing all the data now that I had when I made our initial findings here, this very same place in March of last year. But I had IP addresses going to this Johns Hopkins place in Nanjing, and they were collecting statistics over the last 8 years on these viruses and bioweapons and their effectiveness, including vaccines, including vaccine injury. The company was called Singapore Statistics. They were working with animal farms or animal labs in the United States, as well as in China and in Singapore. Dr. Zhang or Zhuang or ZHOUA or ZOUA was also in Australia, doing animal farms in Australia. So if you follow his tracks, you end up with the coronavirus in the summer, late summer, in Wuhan in 2019. And he's also the first person to discover it. Hey, that's easy. If you're the one to release it, you're always usually have the inside track on discovering it, quote unquote. So I think there's a lot of things that we've reported that people haven't really just sat down and looked at. Remember, we have a big biosecurity event at Fort Detrick in August. Just happens to be the only biosecurity event we've ever had at a BSL-4 lab. Shuts the lab down. Shuts the lab down. The only time that's ever happened in human history, an American lab being shut down. And that's exactly coincides with when the virus outbreak happens in China. I think this is a joint development plan. It's for clearing pipelines. It's for clearing, protesters who don't want the Three Gorges Dam. I think it's been tested in China for 8 years. It's also been parallel tested in Pakistan, and we're onto it. This is the new frontier of warfare, and I think that's the server they were going to get. If it wasn't, why is Nancy Pelosi not saying what was taken? Why is she not giving us the serial numbers of what was taken by the orange hats? Why the cover up? I don't understand. If we're so bad, if we're so fascist, why don't you tell us what serial numbers of what equipment was taken from the speaker's lobby? That's exactly what I've been saying for 3.5 years, is that's where the Blackberries were coming from with Imran 1. That's exactly the one that was dropped in my lap, Sergeant of Arms, Senate, right there next to Nancy Pelosi's office. This was a psyop. This was a psyop.
And it was a multi reasoned operation. It ties into the reasoning that George was talking about earlier with kind of the smart city, lockdown city model. But it also provides a cover for explaining why there isn't a huge turnout at a potential Joe Biden inauguration. Well, the reason is because it's completely locked down. Combined with, it makes it look in hindsight like the protests or rally, the Freedom Rally on the 6th, was in fact done nefariously or in bad taste in mass. So in addition to really the macro strategy of the top down control increase as well. So you know, I think the big one in the short term is people aren't going to have to ask why there's only 10 people at Sleepy Joe's inauguration. Well, the reason for that is because it's completely locked down. Oh, and that's whose fault? The Trump supporters' fault, right? So really multi-variable operation. They try to kill as many birds as possible with one big boulder.
Rand Paul said something recently, I think it was 2 days ago, that was pretty funny, actually. He goes, he's going to send his hologram over for the inauguration because he's not going to be around. He's not going to be there. But, you know, but I don't know. I just feel as though that all of DC is just going down a dark road, and we're not going to see, you know, we're going to see this delineation pre-DC and you know, because of COVID-19, and post-DC because of COVID-19. Or maybe the delineation point is attacking Congress, pre-attacking Congress and post-attacking Congress. I don't know. But it's something definitely is different. There's a different feel. I mean,
yeah,
when you have the Democrats now going after Cruz and saying, well, you were on the side of the president, therefore you must be the enemy. You know, that's going down that road of statism and fascism that I was talking about, where they want to censor Cruz and others just for supporting the president on the floor. Well, that's the whole point of Congress, is to be able to debate on the floor. Not everybody's going to agree, but what I'm starting to see under this new regime, Democratic regime, is that if you disagree with them, therefore you must be the enemy. That's why I'm saying that this statism is going to be a serious topic that needs to be discussed. Now, I reached out to Stefan Molyneux just recently, and you know, said, you know, him and I should do a show on statism and the dangers of it, just at a philosophical level, because I think that some of his work on a philosophical level is, you know, the best, you know, at that really high level, not getting into all the details, but just at the very high level, you know, what's really going on in the world and in the United States. So he's mulling over that idea, but you know, it needs to be discussed that this Democratic Party now, and I personally think who's the leader of it is Nancy Pelosi. Biden is not the leader of the Democratic Party. Nancy Pelosi is. She's the one that's wearing the pants, you know, literally. And I'll tell you, you know, she is very vindictive, and she wants retribution. She wants retribution at so many different levels, not just at the Trump and the Trump family, but at also representatives that are of the Republican Party.
Joe Biden doesn't even choose his underwear color in the mornings, Paul. I think you're right on the money there. I think Pelosi's really in control. Another thing it does is it widens the gap between the layman and their representatives and their politicians. If they, you know, have the Capitol building completely on lockdown, you can't really make full use of your First Amendment freedom of assembly and right to protest as well. But you mentioned what happened with Cruz, and it just reminds me of the Trump dossier, which I know is going on. A woman here, Janet, who George interviewed, was saying that her friend told her that she had been identified on Facebook as a Trump supporter, and this knowledge or information somehow came to her friend. So they're using social media to profile people who are supportive or have been supportive or are likely to be supportive of Donald Trump. And another thing too, which actually my cousin kind of expressed to me his amazement at, is their fear of Donald Trump insofar as they went right from this operation to starting the impeachment in order to prevent him from rerunning in 2024. And I don't know, it was interesting to me how he expressed that amazement, because to me it seemed a bit obvious, but maybe not obvious, but like almost like expected that they would think that far ahead. But it really made me realize that a lot of people don't necessarily think of it that way, and that realizing that fact that they are thinking that far ahead of not only preventing him from winning this election outright as he did, and fairly as I think he would have had it been held fairly, but in 2024 as well. So it really shows you that fear of populism. That
I think it's also to tarnish the family, to prevent them from running for office too, like Ivanka or Don Jr.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
You know, so and part of the reason why they may be afraid of the family is the declassification of certain documents. So that parlays right into, the next, nice question here. George, what do you think about the declassification of the Obamagate papers?
Well, it was kind of a yawner. There was a lot of 693 pages. It was kind of just reconfirming stuff we already knew. Sort of, we knew Steele, knew Orr for 10 years. We knew that they were running a counterintelligence program out of Capitol Hill with MI6, the Justice Department, using the Russians as bait to get surveillance on everybody wearing shoes in Washington, everybody wearing wingtips in Washington. So it kind of confirmed all those spying allegations Trump was making. But, just as far as D-class goes, I believe the name of this Operation Rainbow, the same as it was in Vietnam for testing all these different bioweapons. If he declassified Operation Rainbow, that's why we called it Somewhere Under the Rainbow. We're changing the name to Somewhere Under the Lockdown because people don't understand that necessarily that the Operation Rainbow, using these different rainbow of different bioweapons, is what's causing the lockdown. But if he declassified that and said, this is what's coming, United States, they are going to have green zones where we keep all of our people. Then they are going to spray the people in the rural areas to do pipelines and drilling and to take over all the land after everybody dies. That's what they did in Iraq. This is an attraction coming to you, Middle America. That's the red counties that didn't, get dominion. This is Kolomoisky's coming to you. You don't think Kolomoisky's investing in U.S. real estate? Think again. He's the #1 real estate holder in Indiana. He also has a place on the Ohio River in Illinois. These are places where I believe are weapons revetments, where weapons are stored in case of insurrection. He has places in Miami. He has places in several other states, and he's going to keep buying till we break this Ukrainian connection, this unholy connection to a non-NATO partner being used as an intelligence agency against the people of the United States. Until we break this, we're going to be living under the domination of these people that want to use outside intelligence agencies to dominate our lives, lock down our lives, and eventually steal everything we have. And I wouldn't be saying this now. I wouldn't be releasing all this now if I wasn't in a desperate situation. I think we're in, desperate times call for desperate measures. And I had been a little bit hesitant to release the Operation Rainbow stuff before, but I don't think we have any time to waste now. I think this is the plan for America.
Declassify everything. Also just released, going back to my Atlanta drive-by shooting story, text message from the investigator where he says that the camera was not working. And I've been releasing all videos I took on the 6th as well. And any videos we captured today in DC, Paul, you can definitely use on your channel. Or if you want to stream or just share the video as well, I can send you the files too.
Okay, great. That's cool.
Trying to get it all out there.
But I don't understand this. Is why Trump didn't declassify that information right after the trial in the Senate for his removal.
I think being held as a prisoner right now in this residence side of the White House with no communications, and he's not allowed to go anywhere. The only thing I've heard out since the January 6th remember, he was cut off from communications during the operation from 1 o'clock to 2:30. The only thing I heard him say was, if Joe Biden did this, if if I did this, what Joe Biden just did, I would get the electric chair.
Mhm.
That's all he said, was the electric chair thing. In what is it, 10 days now, over 11 days. So I think he's there's a book, it was funny, there was a fictional book about Trump being completely imprisoned by the Joint Chiefs of Staff, that I went to interview the guy, James Grimshaw, who was the star who kind of freed Trump. And now, you know, fiction follows, you know, life follows fiction. That's what's happened. Trump is a prisoner right now in the White House until he's done. He will not have a voice until the inauguration of Joe Biden.
Yeah, anybody who doesn't realize or think or know that something big is going on is completely ignorant, or just completely, you know, willfully ignorant, or just doesn't know the facts, because, you know, something huge is going on for sure. And I think it's transfer of power, and it's a Game of Thrones move. And
Well, to your point on the transfer of power, AOC just announced and how the red states in the South are oppressed, and they need to be, you know, there needs to be like a reconstruction, you know.
No.
Yeah, I'm telling you, there's a big play going on with these Democrats. They're looking for absolute power.
She's a total traitor. She's a race traitor, if you want to look at it in that terms. That applies. Total shill, total communist. And
Well, when she said that cauliflower was racist,
her greatest asset is she has a uterus and she's good looking. Seriously. I did not like this reconstruction shit she wants to do. It's just,
I mean, you know, and what's amazing is that I thought her degree was in economics. You know, I mean, it's like, I mean, I can't, you can't make this stuff up. I'll tell you. I mean, it's just
well,
she's going to be the next Nancy Pelosi.
yeah.
Remember,
it looks like it.
Remember how tight Osama bin Laden was with Cofer Black and the creation of the CTC, the Counterterrorism Center. And for 20 years, the CIA milked the American people with the lie that somehow Osama bin Laden was our enemy, right? Do you think he didn't have in his riches with his construction group and his you think he didn't have a few wives? He was living supposedly with 6 in Islamabad or wherever that was. I think it was Islamabad or north of Islamabad, Abbottabad. Do you think he didn't have any kids? Did you think he didn't have any model that he wanted? If you look at AOC, she just looks like Huma. She looks like a product of Osama bin Laden. I just think that why not have the intelligence operative come right from your partner, right from your crime partner, right from Cofer Black's crime partner? And if you look at AOC and you look at Huma, damn, they both come from Saudi Arabia as children. They both get adopted. They both, you know, have all the training and so forth. Then they both have fake histories written for them, and they're both in the seat of power. You know, I just look at those two and I say, these are Osama bin Laden's kids. You know?
Huma Abedin and AOC.
AOC. They look very.
How I see AOC is this one. I definitely think that she's some sort of operation. You know, she's a tool for an operation that's going on.
Definitely.
But now
she's
that
the young woman minority, she's the young, pretty minority woman archetype.
But the nuances is that she's not just an operation; she's also a whiner. So she's doing what they want her to do, but she's also whining to get more power. I think she's going over and beyond what she's supposed to be doing.
That's definitely a problem that these handlers have, Paul, is their talent, so to speak, overstepping their boundaries.
Yeah, no, I think that's what's happening. Yeah,
well, I think that you know, Nancy Pelosi put AOC in there, and she has her as a foil against herself because she's so old, and you have to have somebody running around constantly reminding you why you don't let the kids run the school, you know, and she is a constant reminder that Nancy Pelosi is the one who should be running the Democratic Party, because she's always saying something stupid, and she's pretty, so they're going to keep her around, and a million, you know, kids are going to follow her. But it's the best friend Nancy Pelosi ever had, and this is a fake hair pulling contest between them. They're a team, and she's going to say something ridiculous every other day to make everybody say, "Well, I'm glad Nancy Pelosi at least is running the Democratic Party." So, but I still say, Osama bin Laden, I'd love to see a DNA check. How does Huma get here from Saudi Arabia? How does that happen, where she ends up being the person next to Hillary Clinton, the Secretary of State, with her BlackBerry and all her messages? How does AOC get to be running around in the inside committees on Capitol Hill? I just think you have to have a proxy.
She's been knighted. She's gotten the official, you know, you have my blessing. You are a part of the deep state. And she does act like a child, though, just remembering how she was complaining that I think it was a reporter outside the house or something, like just swore, like said the B word or something. And you may as well have been watching a couple of middle schoolers.
I mean, can you imagine, Addy?
Right.
Can you imagine going on a date with her?
Did you just swear? Like, she would just go on a 20-minute rant. I'm like, I'm already out the door.
I've actually met a few. Well, I won't say this. I just think a lot of people on the right actually find her very attractive, and
well, she's good looking.
Sometimes
I mean,
that could increase your, you know, the amount of energy you put in, and you know, sometimes that could be better. You never know. I mean, come on, man.
I'll tell you that I could not. I'd rather shoot myself than live with that.
Oh, come on.
Oh my God.
If it was an intelligence operation and we were in a Mossad kit on, you'd do it. Come on, man. Yes, you would, you liar.
Well, you know what is interesting, and this kind of happened to Obama a little bit during his administration. It is possible that because the power of Nancy Pelosi, that Joe Biden will not be able to really govern like he wants to. Because now Nancy was not 100% with Obama when he was, you know, trying, you know, I remember the first 2 years there was some back and forth with, you know, with policies that he wanted to institute. Now that was during the Lehman crisis, so that may have been part of the reason. But I suspect that it's not going to be. I think there's going to be a push by Nancy Pelosi, where Biden isn't going to be able to govern as he would like. It's not going to be a rubber stamp.
Biden wants to govern at all.
Say it again.
I don't even know if Biden wants to govern at all. If he has even a say in anything he does ever, I don't know.
Oh, that's a good point. I mean, that's a good point. I mean, do you think he doesn't even have a platform? He's just there as a just kind of a showpiece,
a marionette, kind of. I mean,
yeah, I'd agree with that. You know, I don't really think he wants it. He came out immediately and asked for $2 more trillion. That's immediately going to go to these green zones that they're putting in. These that's going to go for building skyscrapers for the DNC elites. And it's spraying for the rest of us. It's crop dusting for the rest of us. That is what they did in Iraq. They took that plan to China and said, hey, we got the crop dusting plan to build all the things you want to build. Don't worry about any of those protesters. These families and these farms in that Three Gorges, they have been in the family for hundreds of years. So how do you get rid of them? You got to dust them. You can't shoot them all. That would create a big outcry. And then you get them to migrate. And coronavirus is the best migration tool that ever was developed. Remember, there's 5 levels of bioweapons. We've just seen the first one in America. We're just now seeing the second one in Europe in England. So we got 3 more stages to go. We're just getting started here with Operation Rainbow in America. We got to get to the bottom of this network we've got to get to Kolomoisky. I've outlined it in my network, and I don't know what to do now, because other than publish, because Trump's going out and he's been silenced.
I don't know what else to do either, George.
So we got to publish it.
Publishing.
Yeah.
And the operation on the 6th, it's officially called White Picket Fence. Operation White Picket Fence. That's what I'm coining it. You know, the adjacency to the White House and the fact that you're really trying to get a fence around the Capitol building. That's what I'm coining it. But it looks like it's breakfast time here.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I will send you the link to my channel though, if you want to put it right in there.
Definitely. So everybody that's watching, please go to Addy's new channel, help populate the new YouTube channel, and subscribe and watch his videos. And he's repopulating the channel so you can see some of his older videos too.
Yeah, and if people want to give me some clicks on Brighteon, I've been stuck at the 50 video level for months. I just don't see views on there. I'm not like Paul on there. Paul gets more views than I do, so if people want to do that. Otherwise, my Rumble seems to me to be the most stable and the fastest upload time. BitChute actually might be a little more stable than Rumble, but it's a little slower, and I don't think you can monetize on BitChute as easily either. But yeah, man, I'm trying to stick with it. I'm trying to get my podcast out this year too, Paul. So I would love to maybe just do a new episode with you, just a full length, you know, Dr. Paul Cottrell kind of bio interview type of deal. I think that would be cool to have on my podcast.
Okay. All right. So you have a good breakfast, and I'll
Thanks, Paul.
I'll edit the video and then I'll premiere it. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
Thank you for calling in. Okay. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.